welcome back to Hearts Wide Open.
The Man's Health Podcast.
We're back with another episode with Soroosh and myself, Dennis, your co-hosts. And what's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. I think the weather is good. The sun is out.
Yeah.
It's a little bit hot, so I don't want to complain too much, but I'm enjoying myself and the weather and the good company.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Thank you.
How are you doing?
I'm good as well. Actually love the weather. Summer has finally arrived. Although last week I had to play hours of tennis in the sun, but I'm doing good, recovering. Yeah.
Oh, that's pretty good to hear.
What do you want to talk about today? You brought a topic, huh?
Yes, today I brought a topic, and I would like to talk about self-sabotage.
How come? What's self-sabotage? Or how did you get there?
How did I get there? I think, well, to kick it off, I think there are maybe every morning or every day I think about, am I doing the best I can to be the best person that I could be?
Mm-hmm.
So this is a question that I often ask myself. And for example, in the mornings, I'm like, if I wake up 6 a.m. in the morning, I could do this and that and that and that, which maybe makes me happier in my life. Because that's a goal that I've set for myself 3 months ago.
You want to be the early bird who catches the worm.
Exactly.
Okay.
And I think it also can help me to sleep earlier in the evening. So that's also something that I would like to work on, because it's difficult for me to sleep before 12, especially because I was just not grown up like that. I was always a late night owl. Is that what you call it?
Yeah, and a night owl.
The night owl. I'm used to burning the night candles. Yeah.
So you think you would be a better person, or a better version of yourself if you would go to bed earlier and also wake up earlier?
I think so. I think this is a theory that I have that I would like to try, waking up early, doing some sports, or even just writing down some journals and start a day a little bit earlier. And then get to work, maybe even finish work a little bit earlier to go out, do some things when we have the light in the summer, go sit down in the park. I think this would make me happy. But still, sometimes I don't do it.
Because as a solution-oriented man, embodying this masculine characteristic of finding a solution for your problem, it's like, just do it, right?
Just do it.
Yeah.
But
why are you not just doing it?
And this is the bridge of self-sabotage, and what we're gonna talk about today.
So what is self-sabotage?
So technically, self-sabotage is actually getting in your own way of what you think makes you happy or successful. Mm-hmm. And for example, you think you want a relationship with someone that you love, and this is an idea that you have in your mind, and you think this makes me happy, right? And you meet a girl, she's beautiful, she's talented, you have a good vibe with her, she's kind, everything that you were looking for in this person. But after a while, you start looking for maybe excuses, per se. Maybe, for example, the way someone dresses, or I don't know, if they are not a morning person. Something that maybe truly is not important for you, but subconsciously you're looking for reasons to not be with that person.
And this is where you're manipulating yourself.
Correct. This is what sabotaging yourself. Yeah. Because consciously, and it comes from your subconscious, because everything is going fine. You think, I'm great. But subconsciously, maybe I'm also not so fine because she's not a morning person. And maybe even makes it a little bit of perfectionism. But I want someone who is a morning person. And I want someone who is this and that and that and that. And it's like your subconscious gets in your way of being happy. Yeah. But maybe the underlying reason is that you're afraid of intimacy.
And I find it interesting that you also now went with the example of being a morning person, because that's in the beginning you said that's also important to yourself. Correct. So maybe you're even self-sabotaging yourself with this topic, and you're also projecting it on the other person.
Exactly.
Because you want to be a morning person, they also have to be a morning person all of the sudden, because you're also a bit afraid of the commitment, and then it's getting more serious.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm also doing that sometimes. Yeah. Maybe more than I want to.
Do you have an example of that you have this self-sabotage anything in your life?
Yeah, for sure. Also with in the morning waking up early. Like I think I took this from my parents actually. If you sleep for too long, you're not productive. Like, yeah, that's not good. You need to be an early bird always. Go to bed on time. Wake up early. Get shit done. You know, if you're awake before everyone else, that means you can work more than everyone else. You know, that kind of mindset. Yeah, and then in general, also just being productive and getting things done. I put way too much on my plate sometimes, way more than I can achieve in a day. But if I would spread it out more, it would be achievable. But then I also procrastinate a lot of things. So then it ends up all on the same deadline at the end. And then I'm anxious and there's this whole cycle.
Yeah.
And yeah, I want to be more productive. At the same time, I keep finding ways to procrastinate or excuses not to do something, especially the things I don't particularly enjoy. It's like, yeah.
It's very interesting. It's very interesting because I also wanted to talk about the common forms that people self-sabotage.
What are the common forms of self-sabotage?
So the common forms of self-sabotage is actually one, procrastination.
Mm-hmm.
You have perfectionism.
The procrastination we talked, that was in my example.
Yes.
Perfectionism, can we also this with getting
perfectionism is like setting yourself up for failure, is what you said. That I'm already, imagine you have 2 weeks that you wanted to work on the podcast, you wanted to meet your friend, you wanted to work on yourself, you wanted to go to gym, and you not you necessarily, but I procrastinated. I was like, oh, well, maybe I do it next week, next Thursday, next Friday. And until the Sunday that the week ends, and all of a sudden the night before you create a perfect down to the minute plan of 1 to 2 I'm gonna do gym, 2 to 3 I'm gonna cook, 3 to 4 I'm gonna meet with my friend, 4 to 5 I'm gonna do this. So it's a perfect jammed plan and you're so sure you're gonna make it. And yeah, guess what? The first thing, you're not gonna wake up at 6 a.m. And all of a sudden the plan is messed up. And it's like you set yourself up for failure by creating this perfectionistic plan, setting this non-achievable goal. That is not gonna work.
So that's the perfectionism form of self-sabotage. So we have procrastination, perfectionism. Perfectionism,
we have self-criticism. That, example was what I said at the beginning of the podcast. That sometimes I have this self-criticism as a form of self-sabotage, that I don't do something. And then I talk to myself, say, but why didn't you do it? Isn't this important for you? Don't you think this makes you happy? And it brings me a sense of, a little bit sadness or not complete or not happy. But interesting is also, I actually thought about some of it, because also with procrastination or self-criticism, I think the self-criticism can also be healthy. Because it's a sign that you truly care about something, right? And also, the stuff that you said, like waking up early, I think if you don't wake up early, there's another thing that your body needs. Maybe it's the sleep that you're missing at the end of the night. And your body secretly likes the waking up later, you know? So maybe waking up early is truly not something that you think makes you happy. It's more of, maybe it comes from all this social media that Jeff Bezos wakes up at 5 a.m. and does a whole routine before 9 a.m. And sometimes I feel like I do see a little bit of that in myself. Like I look up to these successful people and I say, but everybody wakes up at 4 a.m. Everybody does this. And everybody does their yoga and meditation at 6 and already been to the gym twice before 12.
Because people only talk about their
Success stories.
Okay.
But does that really makes me happy? I don't know.
And this is self-criticism as well. Right.
This is not self-criticism necessary. This is what you think makes you happy, but really not. But even on what is not truly makes you happy, you self-criticize yourself.
Okay, so I think that waking up early will make me happy.
But what your body needs is actually more sleep.
But I need more sleep, and I criticize myself for
not
needing more sleep.
Exactly.
If I'm even aware of it.
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
So this is how self-criticism works.
Mm-hmm. So they can all be linked as well, and they can be together. It's not like you only have one type of self-sabotage.
No. I think what you said also in your example, actually, that you procrastinate, and then you have the self-criticism. Oh, why did I procrastinate? And then you mix. It's a compound effect that they have. They're like, oh, fuck.
And then I'm like, okay, I'll try again tomorrow. And
Yeah. So that was that. And for some people, it's substance abuse. Some people, I don't know, they don't want to deal with their emotions or whatever. And they don't want to criticize themselves. And then they take drugs, they take alcohol to deal with it. So this is another way. Some people eat, when they... That's also a form of abuse, overeating.
Yeah, when I'm not feeling well, I find myself eating too much ice cream sometimes.
Yeah.
That's also something I do.
A lot of people do that.
Yeah.
And then I also sometimes do this. Like, I'm on a diet and I'm like, great. There's a weekend, I go out with my friends and I'm like, well, I can have a burger. And then by the end of the night, I'm like, oh, I had a burger. Maybe I can have a beer too.
Yeah, and some fries with it.
Exactly. And then the self-criticism tomorrow comes. Why did you do it? Aren't you on a diet? So this also can come with self-criticism and substance abuse. And this is also part of the compound effect that they can come together.
Wow. I feel like it's getting so messy with the self-sabotage. It's like it becomes a whole system around you, basically. That's all sabotaging in different ways.
Yeah, correct.
Maybe, that's probably why it's so hard to get out of it.
It is hard to get out of it. And the last form of self-sabotage can be setting unrealistic goal, which we briefly talked about. That if you, want to do all these things at this one time, it's not going to work because you have limited capacity. So Dennis, I was wondering if you recognize some of these emotions or forms of self-sabotaging yourself.
Yeah, 100%. And wow, I think it's a lot about doing for me, and so I'm a master at making to-do lists for myself. Like huge lists, and then they get more and more and more. It sometimes starts with 2 or 3 items, but then they're not always the things that I actually like doing, because the things that I like doing, I normally do them immediately because I have a passion for it, and then I do it. And there are things like doing my taxes, following up on paperwork, paying bills, like calling specific people from my life that I need to catch up to, but maybe I'm not feeling it right now. And I put it all on a piece of paper, and then I leave the piece of paper there to chill, and I work on the things that I enjoy, And then I keep adding to that list over time because new things come up and I don't want to do them immediately, so I write it down. But this list becomes longer and longer until at some point I find a moment where I'm like, damn, I need to fucking start working on this list, And then I plan my whole week, like agenda slots. It looks beautiful because every moment in my week is all of a sudden something I'm gonna do, and then I don't leave any time for the fun stuff that I like doing. So that whole week I'm just doing all the things I don't like doing. And I plan to wake up super early, go for a run at 6, so I have good energy for the day, and then as we talked before, then I don't manage to necessarily go like wake up that early, go for that run, do my first thing, and then the things just pile up more, and then I get more stressed and more anxious. Try to distract myself with things that I like doing. So I start working on other things again, or sometimes during my lunch break I take a longer lunch break to care for my plants in the house and stuff, like things I enjoy doing that calm my nervous system, and it kind of helps, but it's a distraction. It's a fucking distraction. And then I do eventually do a couple things from the list maybe.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I feel like, all right, now you did like great, and you deserve a reward. And then like now, for example, with the good weather, I probably have a jar of Ben and Jerry's in the freezer, so I pull out some ice cream and start eating away, watching some stupid thing on TV or something, on YouTube. And then the next morning starts and I feel like shit again. And I have that huge list. Now I have undone things from the day before as well. And I'm smiling right now because it's funny to me to talk about it in this way. Because I feel, even talking about it now, I feel a bit stupid that I'm doing this. I feel like a hamster in my own hamster wheel, and I'm the hamster. I also built the cage and I built the wheel too. That's how I feel when I'm talking about it.
Oh.
And that's my story of like basically I think I'm taking all the 5 types of self-sabotage. I'm setting way too high goals.
Yeah.
I'm expecting perfection for myself, like a perfect agenda, everything perfect. Then I start procrastinating.
Yeah.
I criticize myself for it the next day, the day after, the days after. In general. And I'm just constantly also anxious whenever I think about it. And then I can't be as good of a friend. I can't be as good of a talking partner to others because, there's all this stuff flying around my head that I still think of that I just have to get done. But, honestly, I need help, man.
This is a perfect episode. I love that.
Yeah, so how can we do you have any tips since you researched the topic a little bit? Like what can I do? Like do you have any?
I did some of the research, so we can talk about actually take your story.
Also mentally though, like what can I do to be kinder to myself, maybe not feel all this anxiety in between?
I think because what is the emotion that comes with for you when you were saying your story?
The way I told the story, I was feeling like pressure is building up inside me. The more I talk, and this is also the same way it feels when all this stuff piles up and gets more and gets more. It's like a loop, because then once I did something and I reward myself, I feel a little bit better about myself, but then I'm entering the same loop the next day, and then it doesn't stop.
Interesting, because for me, by the way, I also do some of this that you see. What you said, I also create a to-do list and try to. Mine is not that crazy. But also there is a form of, because I wanted to ask you, why do you do the to-do list? Why?
Yeah, so I don't forget those things, because some of them are very important.
Okay.
I do have to do them.
Yeah. But I think number one is to acknowledge that you're not as good as your to-do list. Mm-hmm. The fact that you completed or didn't complete the to-do list doesn't make you a less or a bigger person, per se. I think you should separate your identity, who Dennis is and what he wants, from how or what he wants to do.
I can be an awesome person and a good friend and like a good person to myself, no matter how long or what is on my to-do list.
And just separating that from your self-worth, that, hey, even I think this is number one for me, that I separate my self-worth from I'm not as good as my to-do list. Mm-hmm. If I finish it, okay, great. because those are the tasks that I wanted to do as most important for me. And if I not, okay, I will be a little bit sad. You can criticize yourself in a healthy way. I will talk about the solutions later, but also then you shouldn't feel like I'm less of a person right now. Does that make sense or no?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking how can I...
And I think it's important to also recognize the moments that you're having this self-sabotage. Are you really self-sabotaging, or what I said, does my body really needs rest? And I'm just putting bullshit plans, wake up at 6 a.m., wake up at 6 a.m. But what I need, you need to also recognize what I need is proper sleep. And if I have that, if I reduce the amount of alcohol that I have, if I go to bed a little bit earlier, then I'm also capable of doing what I think makes me happy in the morning. Other than pushing myself, setting unrealistic goals. So this brings me to some of the solutions that are around actually for what you said. How to get your goals to happiness, success, whatever that you want, and to reduce this self-sabotage that you have. I think number one for me is recognizing that you're actually doing it. So it's actually being mindful about it. Say, hey, is this really important for me, or is it what my mom think is important for me, right? And if it is important for you, either makes you happy or not, you have to do it, like your taxes. Some people doing their taxes make them happy.
Yeah.
That's also something. But if it does make you happy, I think you should create a realistic goal, like set realistic goals for yourself and come up with the actionable plan based on what you can do. Like, you know who Dennis is more best than anyone else around you, right?
How would that look like? I'm thinking about my to-do list and
Your
like,
to-do
okay,
list,
how can I make this actionable?
Yeah.
Just pick 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
And
Number
don't put
one.
it in my agenda as a timeline. Just like today, I just want to do these 2 or 3 things.
Yeah, I always say first prioritize it.
Okay.
Based on what are the priority. Do you have to do this or that and that? Pick 2, 3 based on what you think you have capacity realistically, not based on how much time you have in the day. Even a little bit underestimate 2, 3 tasks. Sometimes I like to start with the harder task, because then if I reach that, I'm like, okay, I did it, instead of putting the harder task to the end of the day. Because then you always have the procrastination sometimes for me kicks back then if I have the harder task at the end. So I try to put the hard task at the beginning. If I need to work in the mornings, I try to like really not check my phone or do critical work in the morning. So with this action plan, in your case, do 2, 3 things in one day, not crazy, time scheduled, and I think you can also tick that off. Okay, I did this, great. I did this, great. If for whatever reason you didn't do it, say, okay, hey, I didn't do it today, I will do it tomorrow, another day. Instead of criticizing yourself, I didn't do it. I'm this and that. I'm a person who procrastinated and not achieved this goal and blah, blah, blah. And yeah, also the question is, if you actually continue putting it away, I try to encourage you to think about, do I really care about this? Do I really care about waking up every morning early? Or can I also have the same stuff if I'm a night owl at the end of the night?
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah, maybe I think something else that can be helpful is having support systems. So your friend, your partner, making things also easier. I remember I read the book of Atomic Habits. So there's the one thing that I took from that book I remember is that if you want to do something and make it a habit, you want to make it easier for yourself whenever you do it, whenever you want to do it. So if your plan or goal is to go for a run, put your running shoes in front of the door every morning. So when you walk out of the door, you actually see the running shoes. And it just brings this trigger, maybe I want to go for a run. Or
like setting your workspace the night
as
before,
easy as possible. Yes.
putting your clothes already
Yes.
there.
Yes.
Setting the scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you have a behavior you want to reduce, makes it as hard as possible. I don't know if you want to. If you have a behavior that you want to reduce, make it as hard as possible. If you want to reduce your phone time, we also talked about it in one of the episodes. If you want to reduce your phone time that you have in your bed, physically, at the end of the night, put your phone in another room and then come back to bed and make bed really a place to sleep. This is the ideal world. I know sometimes I also do it, take my bed still to the phone. No, I don't do that. I take the phone back to my bed and I self-criticize.
No.
I think it's still important to be mindful and also sometimes kind to yourself in this scenario. And when the mindfulness kicks, really think about, but I really tried hard for this and it's important for me, so I will put it away.
Let your mind win for once.
Correct.
In that sense.
That then becomes a habit.
I have another one when I have this. So sometimes I said I like to eat ice cream in the evenings to drown my sorrows, which actually makes me also wake up in a worse condition than if I would not have eaten that the night before. But I started not passing the ice cream aisle when I'm going to the shop. I just purposely don't even, because when I see they have discounts there and I'm like, all right, I can get 2 for 1.
It's hard to resist.
Then I have 2 sitting in the freezer, and then it's so easy, when even shops are closed already, to just grab it. So that is something I did, and also limiting phone time by setting all my apps shut off at 10 p.m. And they wake up at 7:30 again. So in between that, it's hard to reach me even.
I know, I have experience trying reaching Dennis, but
after 10 it's over.
But I think these are some of the actionable points that could really help you reduce the amount of self-sabotage you have and take you toward the goals that you think makes you happy or successful.
I think I'm still a bit I'm not fully convinced, let's say, of these solutions, because I feel like it's also, there's the element of willpower somewhere.
For sure.
And I think you can apply these techniques, but if you it's like a game in your head, when you wake up, let's say I woke up by myself from the sun at 7:30 or whatever, and then I'm like, and I feel like I could get up, but then I'm like, but I can close my eyes for half an hour again, and then I let that feeling of comfort win, and then I wake up 1 hour later, and I realize, okay, you just completely wasted this hour, because now I feel less worse than before. Because that hour normally doesn't actually help. Snoozing doesn't actually help you feel better or anything. If you're awake, just get up, basically. And so
for sure.
Every time, again, this voice in your head that you need to beat. It's a question of, am I gonna grab the ice cream or am I gonna grab a glass of water?
Exactly. That's
and every time again, you need to let your you need to win against the voice of self-sabotage, let's say.
Correct.
It's but you said the first step is awareness, and then you have this game, and then you need to
then you have the stuff we talked about in your toolbox. But the fundamental question is, are you willing to? And I think you will always, this temptation is always with you through your life. That are you willing to go through the hardness? Because it is hard. Waking up morning, putting my phone away. These are discomfort. Are you gonna choose the comfort, going to the ice cream aisle? Or are you gonna willingly, what you said, choose the momentarily discomfort for a longer time, satisfaction or happiness? Are you willing to do that? I think this is a question that you also need to ask yourself.
It's also a bit like instant reward or future reward. So the ice cream, I can just eat it instantly and I feel great, and then I feel shit. Or the other reward would be not to eat it, and then later I feel like I said no that one moment, and I own my own life. I'm in charge. I'm driving.
And I promise you, that feels fucking good.
Yeah.
That
I think everyone can relate, because everyone has had this feeling, I think.
For sure.
And I also think everyone can acknowledge the feeling, or relate with the feeling of like drifting, and not listening to your mind and yourself, what you actually want.
No, for sure.
Wow. Yeah.
Let's take a moment of deep breath.
Just
sink in.
Yeah, let that sink in for a while, and now let's invite the listeners to think about the things that they're maybe self-sabotaging themselves on. So what's that one thing that you want to improve actually, or want to do differently? What are those moments when you can win against your subconscious with your conscious, by choosing against or for something, but with a will behind it? And super interesting. I'd love to hear some of the listeners' stories and points of views on this.
That would be great.
If you have a story like this, feel free to send us a voice message to the podcast. You can find the link on Spotify or via Instagram on our link tree. It's the top link. Send us a voicemail with your story, your experience. We're super curious, and if you like, we can even share it on the podcast, play it, and that would be really cool actually.
Yeah, I think so. If you recognize any of the procrastination, perfectionism, self-criticism, and how you deal with it, I think everyone also deals with it differently. Some people want ice cream, some people smoke a cigarette, some people do substances, some people sleep more. Also, so for everyone, right? So people that just realized they're doing this, but also people who have already realized and now trying to figure it out for themselves. And maybe you are someone who has already figured it out. So please share your experience and your tips that you might have with us, and we'll share it with the world. Yeah, that's been it.
Yes, Thank you so much. And leave your questions or ideas and thoughts also in the comments below, and share our content, because it really helps us amplify the voice around men's health. We are taking this podcast to the next level. We have some really cool guests coming up. We're going to increase our presence on social media. We are this year working together with Movember to start a bigger Movember campaign than last year. So there's a lot of cool things happening on this podcast. And we invite all of you to be part of that. Join the Hearts Wide Open family. Follow us on Instagram and all the other platforms where you listen to podcasts. And we're looking forward to see you on the next one.
Peace out. See you on the next one.
Cheers.